after Patricio, we'll do lunch, and then my son will be speaking. Michael Blea. So, are you guys having fun yet? Yay! Let me sit here. Hi. So, Patricio is one of our shaman that we've had in our life for many, many years, and he is also our producer of our radio show as well, and we love him very much. And he's so much, and then I flew with it, or run with it, what did I do? And we just always talked about the Rainbow Tribe and everybody coming together again, and so he was one of my biggest inspirations, so I'm glad he's part of the team. So it was like going back home and saying, okay, are you ready now? So anyways, I welcome Patricio to the lead here, and I'm going to give him the microphone.
Greetings, aliens. Welcome to planet Earth. We hope your stay will be pleasant. And of course, I have to remind you that there are a few rules about being on this planet. Number one is we hope that you will respect the living beings on this planet, the flora and the fauna, and also the other creatures that inhabit this space. Also, we would like you to respect the natural order of things that we have here on this planet. And of course, should you decide that you want to mess with the natural order of things here on this planet, you will be deported.
Better to be deported than departed.
We can arrange that.
Also, better to be pissed off.
Another quick arrangement. Okay. Let's see. The title of my speech was something like Forward into the Past, or The Ancient Mystery Will Be the Science of Tomorrow. The reason I chose this is really not within my range of talks. As is shamanic and shamanism, and also Native American ceremonialism. But there is just a hint of the I can actually talk about this. The part about the ancient mysteries being the science of truth. Get rocks to mesh together so tightly that you cannot squeeze a piece of between. How were they able to maintain such incredible architecture without a real science of architecture? How are these miracles done? How were they able to move 100-ton blocks of stone up hundreds of feet in the air to create these monuments when it would be an enormous task even by today's technology? Hydraulics and the engineering required to do that by today's technology would be monumental. It would be something
something even beyond flying to the moon. And yet these things were, and they were done by people in the past. Obviously, there was a science involved. Was this science human? Probably not. The humans, of course, were part of the project, but they were doing it with borrowed technology. Why do you say it was borrowed technology? Well, because it was our technology, we'd still know it. We'd still have it available to us. But the aliens let us use their technology, gave us just enough information on how to use it without explaining the details of what made it work. It was a good thing. Who knows exactly what humans would have done with a technology like that? However, on some level, we should be grateful for what has been accomplished with the use of this alien technology. Forward into the past. Once again, it seems that the aliens are making contact with the human beings again. Subtly, of course, coming in slowly. Here a message channeled, there a sign, a hint, there's something going on. Never quite a full disclosure or a full presentation, but subtly moving into the consciousness of the human beings again. Why? Well, because it seems that the human beings once again are either in need of the alien technology or their life way forward, or maybe the aliens need the humans again for some project that they have. I don't. The writings on the rock walls or the oral histories, none of them really tell us why the aliens decide to interfere in the human evolution, or in, I should say, the Earthlings' evolution. But they did leave an interesting legacy behind. When I was still a student, I should say an apprentice, when I was still an apprentice of the shamanic world, one of my teachers was this incredibly profound being. I don't even know if he was human, but he could pull answers out of, he was pulling out of the Ashta records. He could pull out of where these things were kept. I asked many, many questions. I mean, when you have that basic sense the entire creation, why not ask a question?
up to. He said, "No, this information cannot be shared with the rest of the world." So he put the squash on it. But I was going to write a manual for life on this planet based on all the information I had gathered from the Akashic records through this channel. But there was one piece of information that just left me completely startled. He said to me, "You're not really a full earthling." I said, "What do you mean I'm not an earthling? I was born on Earth. My parents were born on Earth. Their parents were born on Earth. Their parents were born on yada, yada, yada. For as long as we can remember, we call it time immemorial." He says, "Well, your memory is not as complete as you think." He said to me, "You know, there's this creature on this planet that you call the Bigfoot or the Sasquatch or the Yeti and all that. That's an earthling. You are not." He says, "You are a hybrid entity, an alien species melded your DNA with, or melded their DNA with this earthling and created you. You are a hybrid of the Sasquatch and the aliens." So that really rearranged things, because I had to put my relationship with him into a whole different perspective. Part of Native American tradition is honoring the ancestors. Now, that would be pretty easy if I knew my ancestry. But how can you honor your ancestry when you only know a part of it? How do I honor that ancestry that is extraterrestrial? This is a real challenge for me, because they didn't leave. That part of my parentage did not leave a very clear trace or history, oral or otherwise, about themselves. So honoring them has been a real challenge. Some of you are beginning to answer this challenge in a very creative way. Probably the only way it can be answered, short of our ancestors coming back and telling us, exactly who they are, what their reason was for arriving here, what their beliefs are, and all of those other details that make up a part of a culture. Because there's a lot to a culture. Language, customs, dress, likes, dislikes, all of these things, taboos, all of these, a religion maybe, some kind of a philosophy, belief system, all of these things go up to make up a culture. Artwork, it goes on. Culture is so huge. But they didn't leave much of that behind. So it makes it really difficult to really delve into that. Oh, back to the neat aspect of how you are dealing with this. There is this aspect to to us, the quote unquote human beings, the hybrids, the hybrid creature that is inhabiting planet Earth.
We have this ability to introspect. We can look within ourselves and find the way we feel about things, the way we intuit. The same way we intuit about things on the outside, we can intuit about things on the inside. And we have this ability to start an internal introspection and find out a little bit more about ourselves. Maybe the process won't ever fully reveal everything about our alien parentage, but it will tell us a lot about us. After all, we are not them, and we are not the Sasquatch. We are something different. We're a hybrid. So we have to deal with our own characteristics. We have to discover just who in the heck we are and how we are different from everything else. Of course, there are some samenesses. We're all made up of air, water, fire, the usual suspects, carbon, calcium, all of that stuff. That is universal. The aliens that came and joined their DNA with ours, they were made up of the same stuff. Otherwise, the DNA splice would have been incompatible. So they obviously had some of those elements in common. But we can find out who in the heck we are by a certain amount of introspection. We also can find out what suits us the best. Because here is the real challenge. The speakers before me talked about a disruption or a disorganization that is in the world today. There is something wrong with the instructions that we are operating under. They are not conducive to survival. If we continue to live by the instructions that we are living under now, we will perish from the face of this planet. And of course, our Earth ancestors, the Sasquatch, will get to stay, unless we screw this place up so bad even they can't stay. But hopefully we'll only screw it enough so that we can't make survival of our species possible. I don't know. I have never really met the Sasquatch. It'd be interesting to be able to do that, so I could say, "Great to meet you, grandfather. I am so pleased to finally get to know you. I have so many questions for you. I know you don't recognize me. I don't look like you so much, but you are my grandfather. Somewhere along the line, I interbred with who knows what or who, and got myself into this space and into this mess. But if you can tell me something about yourself, I would really, really appreciate it." So anyway, that's one of the things I would like to do. But one of the other things that I would like to do is find out what the instructions are that we need for our survival. And I don't mean survival like today or tomorrow, but I mean survival from now until the sun can no longer support this planet. I would like to return to this planet in 10,000 years again and enjoy the flora and the fauna. I would like to walk among the trees. I would like to recognize and greet and meet a lot of the wild animals, or maybe not even wild if they're just all domestic, who knows, but I would love to once again be part of this beautiful, beautiful experience of being a living creature on this planet. It offers so much. The sights, the sounds, the smells, the feel, all of these things. Oh, music, incredible stuff. Rainbows almost make me cry because their beauty is so transcendent. But it's because they're a part of the natural order of things, just like I am. I am part of the natural order of things, and these things remind me of who I am and how I fit into this system. But in order to be able to do this, in order to come back in 10,000 years, I'm going to need parents, which means that my grandchildren, I have a great-grandchild. My great-grandchild is going to have children. And in a couple hundred years, means my great-great-great-great-great-grandchild is going to have children. But in order for that to happen, they're going to need an environment that is supportive of life. And that is what is missing. An order of things. No. A guide.
Instructions. The Native Americans talk about this beautiful thing called the original instructions that were given to us so that we could live in harmony with this planet. And we were doing a darn good job of it until somebody came up with an alternate set of instructions. It seemed pretty interesting at the time. Of course, we didn't have an option, but we eventually settled into it and thought for our immediate survival join on it. Now we're stuck with these new instructions that basically are killing us. Unfortunately, they're not just killing us, they're killing everything. If these instructions, these stupid instructions, are not eradicated, if they are not rendered illegitimate, until they are discredited for what they are, non-survival instructions or suicide instructions, we will perish. But that leaves us with the challenge of coming up with a set of instructions that will nurture survival into the future. Now that's really our challenge. As much as I'd like to know a little bit about my ancestry, it is more important to me right now to know a little bit more about the instructions that we're going to need to move us forward. And in order to do that, we're either going to have to remember the original instructions, or we're going to have to intuit a set of new original instructions. I call them original instructions for the new age. Now, I'm not going to pretend that I know those. Yes, I've been working on them. I've been thinking about it. Boy, have I been thinking about it for years. In collaboration with other elders, little side bit, I was one of the youngest person. I was one of the youngest persons allowed into the Elders Council
the Native American Elders Council. I was allowed into the Elders Council at age 35. Normally, you go into Elders Council after you're 50 or so. But somebody along the line said, you've got something going. Come on in. There's only 2 people that I know have been allowed into Elders Council before their 40s. Another one was a man from Canada, a Dene man, and he was allowed in too. So apparently we've got something going. But I've been thinking about this. I've been thinking about this original instructions, and one of my favorite questions at elders gatherings is to ask the elders, and it's being the hoodlum in me because I've got a little bit of that, is, do you remember the original instructions? Oh, that's a conversation killer. Because the truth is, they don't. They allude to them, and every once in a while they will even talk to the generalities of the original instructions, but nobody can actually say the original instructions are number 1, number 2, number 3. Because of the interruption. I know there were elders once who would sit, okay, I'm a Pueblo man, they would sit in the kiva with the young people and they would teach the original instructions in the kiva because they knew them and they could transmit them clearly. But the interruption, the systematic destruction of our spiritual leaders because they were interrupting the new instructions caused a break in that system. Volumes of knowledge were lost every time they destroyed an elder. A piece of knowledge was destroyed. 1 or 2 of the original instructions was gone. And now there's only a vague memory of them. But it is our challenge now. It's your challenge now to help create these original instructions. How are you going to meet this challenge? I'm going to tell you this. You can't do it by yourself. The original instructions for the new age are going to be the product of a collective. Somehow or other, you are going to have to organize yourself into a collective of people that starts living by whatever you can scratch together as the original instructions and start living them and involving them. You'll say, oh, well, this seemed like a good idea. Try it. It doesn't work. Scratch. Next idea. Let's fix. Until a group of you come up with a set of instructions that are sustainable, that are socially comfortable for you. Because we can come up with some harsh instructions that, of course, will be sustainable. I mean, we can come up with instructions that basically will allow us to survive. Maybe survival is the first instruction. Okay, number 1, survive. Okay. Number 2, get comfortable. I'm not going to try to speculate what number 3 is, but I can begin to unpack the first one. What does it mean to survive? I mean, does that mean just to be alive? Or does it mean more than just being alive? Does it mean being healthy? Healthy would be nice. I mean, because you can be alive and not be healthy. Okay, so let's find out. Let's unpack that one a little bit. Comfortable. What makes us comfortable? Well, comfortable. Okay, I'm in a comfortable chair right now, but you know, is this any way to live? You know, I'm healthy. I'm in a comfortable chair. No, we got to work up some other details about this comfort thing. How about let's find a way to interact socially? Yeah, that's it. Let's learn some songs. Let's learn some dances. Let's learn to communicate in a good and positive way. Okay, those would be ways of unpacking original instruction number 2. And on and on and on. But the answer really is starting to form a collective of some kind where we get to try these things, find out what works and what doesn't work. Again, with these two instructions, just what the heck, survive and socialize. Let's find out what the heck those mean, and let's unpack them and make and write something that we can share with the future, so that my great grandchildren can birth me again. Okay? Like I said, I want to come back, and I have an option. I mean, once I go into the spirit plane, I can always be birthed on another planet. I can wind up on Mars, godforsaken place. If there ever was one, looks like hell, feels like hell, probably is where the concept hell came from. But I don't want to be there. No, I want to be here where that guy gets to walk around, that four-legged guy over there. He's a really interesting fellow. You ought to get to know him. And you, I'd like to hang out with your types. And you say, well, gee, how do you know those guys on Mars aren't interesting at all? Trust me. Trust me, I know. No, their place is a nice place to visit, but I would be very, 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 very glad to make my visit there very short, and so I did. There's a lot going on. There's a lot going on. Like I said, when you're in the spirit plane, you have unlimited possibilities. I mean, I could have been born over there. I could have been born a deer. Oh, the joy of being a male buck, rushing through the desert, smashing my antlers against trees and stuff. Now there's a life, good fresh green grass on the forest floor. Or I could have been a bear. That's kind of neat, sort of gruff around a little bit and scratch there and rough some things up here and there and everywhere. Could have been that. A lot of choices. In the spirit plane, you can drop into a lot of different situations, but I chose to drop into this one. I like this, That's another reason why, I'm sort of grateful for the hybrid that the aliens created, because I could have dropped into a Sasquatch body too. Kind of plain. Not a bad creature, but you know what? I don't think it's nearly as interesting as this one. But one of the things that this creature has to come up with is some kind of a survival technique. That's the one thing that's missing. Sasquatch has that down. That one knows how to survive. Should we not be able to get this thing together, they're going to be here and we're not. They know how to survive. They didn't lose their original instructions. They're still following them. And they will carry them through. So anyway, I chose this body, and I'm going to continue to choose it for a while until something more interesting comes into my consciousness. But as yet, something more interesting has not come into my consciousness. So I will continue to find this as my primary source of interaction in the material world. Material world. Yes, I'm going to add a little bit about that here. I was trained as an electrical engineer. Everybody needs a job when they're young. You have to support a family. So the word frequency is like, it really bugs me because it applies to me in a very specific way. And so when somebody says, raise your frequency, I'm like, no, I don't think so. Let me tell you why. The frequency of the brain, when you're asleep, the frequency of your brain is between 0.5 hertz and 4 hertz. Now you'd say, well, raise your frequency. Oh, okay, so I'll raise my frequency. Between 4 and 8 hertz, I am now drowsy. Drowsy, okay, so I've raised my frequency from dead asleep to drowsy. Raise your frequency, okay. How about somewhere between 8 and 14 hertz? Now that is an awakened state, but relaxed, okay? Now, raise your frequency again, oh no. 14 to 30 hertz, highly alert. Now I'm kicking it. Now I'm at work. Right now I'm at somewhere between 14 and 30 hertz. Say, raise your frequency. Here's where it gets really interesting. Somewhere between 30 and 80 hertz is about the highest frequency your brain can possibly operate at without going kerflooey, or what we call neurotic or schizophrenic or some other psychological breakdown. But this state is called intense focus. I mean, that's when you are doing something so consuming that it just takes everything you've got to maintain it. At that frequency between, and it's usually around 60 hertz, but they say between 30 and 80, depending on how intense you are. That is the highest frequency that your brain can keep up without you blowing up. By the way, just for the heck of it, in this state, every one of these states, in fact, as you raise your frequency, you're using more and more energy. So when you are operating at 60 hertz, you are burning calories like there is no tomorrow. In fact, right now I'm probably in that state. I'm sweating like crazy because, I'm focusing on this presentation. I'm burning calories like crazy. If I were to raise my frequency even higher, I would go maybe, who knows, into some kind of hyper state. I'd burn up. I'd just totally burn up, and the amount of calories I'd consume would be probably hazardous to my health. But, oh well, raise your frequency. By the way, if you were an earthling, this famous phrase, the apple doesn't fall too far from the tree. If you were a pure earthling, you would vibrate at somewhere between 8 and 14 hertz. How do I know this? Because being an electrical engineer, we get curious about stuff like that. We've measured the frequency of the earth. The earth vibrates, it wobbles a little bit, somewhere between 8 hertz and 14 hertz. Does that sound familiar? That was one of, what do we call that? Relaxed awake. In human terms, relaxed awake. So the earth is relaxed awake. The human body, now this is the body, not the brain. The human body vibrates. Its frequency is somewhere between 62 hertz and 72 hertz, depending on how active it is. That's getting kind of high. Now they say, well, what would happen if you raised your frequency? Let's see. If we're operating at, let's say, 2 hertz, it's the top end of the human body's frequency. Push our frequency to 126.22 hertz. What do you think what frequency do you think that is?
That's the frequency of the sun. Try vibrating at that frequency for a second. Obviously, you can't be in your body. Or you'd have to have a body made out of, what is it the sun's made out of? Hydrogen? Hydrogen. You'd need a hydrogen body. But just because I need to share one more thing. Vibrating at a whopping 221 hertz, we have the planet Venus. So if you want to really raise your frequency, incarnate on Venus. We'll have a really good time there. Okay, well, that's pretty much what I had to share with you. I hope it was at least entertaining. And so, let's see, I've got 15 minutes more to go in this time slot. So I'm going to allow you to interact with me. And so let's do that. Hit it.
I was talking about harmonics of audio and optical. Do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do, red, orange, yellow, green, blue, indigo, violet, white. What about 4G and 5G? You're an engineer.
You are really talking about this. That was at first, when I first, this thing about the frequency of the sun thing came about because of a question of one of my students asked. Because, you know, this concept of frequency is kind of new now, and people are buzzing about frequency, and it's like this word is buzzing. And somebody asked me, he says, well, you know, we know that the Earth vibrates at, you know, you've told us that the Earth vibrates between 8 and 14 hertz, and it's like, you know, well, what does the sun vibrate at? And I didn't know the answer to that. So I had to really poke around to actually find that out. The first answer I found out was the sun vibrates at 5 gigahertz. But then I said, wait a minute, that can't be right. And that's when I said, more research found this other. But 5 gigahertz is the frequency, or the mean frequency of the light spectrum coming off of, or all the other electromagnetic spectra coming off of the sun, which coincidentally, 5 gigahertz just happens to be the frequency of cell phones and microwave ovens. Wonderful frequencies. I don't recommend large exposure to these frequencies. Yes?
Actually, 5G is one of the Wi-Fi frequencies that your Wi-Fi home and all these unfortunates are subject to in schools. Particularly dangerous to prepubescent females who are born with 200,000 ova, and those ova are potentially the most sensitive cells of all of our cells, other than spermatogonia, which are also unfortunately affected when you put one of these things in your pocket. Now, James Clerk Maxwell created 20 equations called Maxwell's equations, were converted to vector calculus by Oliver Heaviside to 4 equations, which are called Maxwell equations, but they're actually Oliver Heaviside's equations, and they talk about transverse waves. And transverse waves is how we communicate on radio and television. Marconi made a big deal of it, but the other aspect that Maxwell discovered in his equations about electromagnetism were longitudinal waves or scalar waves. And that's what's involved in healing. This being able to send energy to people, or radionics, isn't on the map in terms of these cell phones. These guys transmit longitudinal waves, some of them in the 5 gigahertz range. The other nice range that they use is 2.4 gigahertz for Wi-Fi, which just so happens to be the maximum dielectric absorption of water. That's frequency of microwave ovens. And you're talking on your Wi-Fi using the frequency that your microwave uses to cook your chickens. Isn't that cute?
Hence, these are the instructions that have to be overwritten by more sane
Amen.
instructions.
Amen. Oh, one more thing. Your next Wi-Fi, 5G, is 60 gigahertz, and that just coincidentally happens to be a military punishment frequency that deprives your ability to use oxygen and affects something in the cell called the endoplasmic reticulum. And why did they pick these things? Who's giving them the instructions? They're not paying attention
To the natural order of things. They're not paying attention to the natural order of
And it's not
things.
like they don't know it. That's the other thing. There's some evil going on here, and they are aware that this is a soft kill. This is a way that the New World Order is going to reduce the population of the planet, but who's going to prove that that's cancer? John McCain died of a brain tumor. He's got a cell tower right next to his house. You think it's related?
He obviously didn't get the memo. So hopefully, like I said, a collective can be formed of people that know some things, tried some things that didn't work, and discard them. I mean, that's the trick. The trick is not just enough to come up with stuff, but to discard the stuff that doesn't work. I mean, yes, somebody knew that these waveforms were destructive to cells and life forms, but they said, oh, but wait a minute, it looks so useful. I mean, we could probably turn this into a communication system, but at what cost? At what cost? And then, of course, then you have the what's called, he's calling it the evil mind, which comes from people who don't know, were never instructed in sane, natural-based instructions. They think it's all right to be destructive because they never got the instructions that said it's not good to be destructive. They were never told, by the way, if it's not good for the collective, it's not good at all. They just didn't get that instruction. Or if it was given to them, it was not given to them in relationship to a whole other set of instructions. I mean, like one of the nice things about being a Native American is you don't dare do something stupid because, well, it doesn't just shame you. It takes down the whole tribe. Oh, that stupid Indian. I mean, you look at that, what he did. It's like that's the way those people are. You see, you take down your entire community. So out of respect for your parents and your grandparents and all who came before you, you don't do stupid things because it affects you too deeply. But when you are linear, when you are solitary, you don't care. Hey, this is good for me. What the heck? This is good for me. My parents don't care. I mean, this doesn't affect them. This is my thing. What the heck? If I manage to rip somebody off and get rich by it, great. You know, it's like, hey, no problem. In fact, like my parents don't even have to know about it. It's like I won't tell them. You know, like no problem. But no, we can't go by that because when we do stupid stuff, it affects our entire community. Yes, sir.
I think we all should stand up against the present plans for 5G. And you ought to pay attention, look on YouTube and learn about it. It's one of the really bad things that is being promoted by the huge magnetic field of money. They say there's $12 trillion in 5G and the Internet of Things. So how are we going to disconnect this thing from the yucky cokeheads in Wall Street who see $12 trillion ahead of using these technologies that are being promoted by electrical engineers who don't even understand Maxwell's equations because they've never read them. They've read Heaviside's equations. Heaviside followed Marconi, and they ignored Tesla's longitudinal waves, which, by the way, I have. So there's hope in mind. I have a design for an antenna. It's going to be called the star-gated antenna. It's based on some of these sacred geometry things that David over here is teaching, and he had to talk to anybody about it when they want to know. But the 5G is planned, and the Internet of Things is a soft kill by the New World Order, like the vaccines, and the fluoride, and the chemtrails, and the genetically modified crops. It's all designed to kill as many people as possible. So that
Collective is the answer.
Can have more cocaine.
It takes a group of people of significant numbers to change things. I mean, I know you've heard the story. Well, one person can make a difference, but one person cannot really make a difference against a group. It really does take a group to make a difference against a group. So hopefully this message that is just going out right now will reach a large enough group who will share it with a larger group, who will share it with a larger group. And this idea of, well, let's stand up against, yes, let's 10 million of us stand up against that, because it's what it's going to take. It's not going to, 1 million, they kill that every day on the streets with car accidents. No, 10 million is what it's going to take to really make a dent in these crazy, stupid instructions. And then the same 10 million are going to have alternate, survivable instructions. Yes, ma'am.
Which means we have a responsibility to share this information whenever it comes up.
We have a responsibility to share this information whenever it comes up. Whenever we hear it, we need to point to it. We need to allude to it. Even when it doesn't come up, maybe we can make it come up. Occasionally sneak it into our conversation, which is not that hard to do when you are living by those instructions. Not just like, oh, I have knowledge of a good way to live. It's like, no, that's not enough. It's like, I have to be living it. I have to be doing it, so that when somebody says, what the heck are you doing? He says, oh, well, I'm living by a survivable set of instructions that will ensure that there is a future for the human race on this planet. And that's about it. I think my time has expired. Thank you for all your comments. Thank you for blessing with hearing.
For this speech to nothing, to nobody, and it's you that actually makes it possible and makes it alive and well. So instead of thanking me, I'm going to thank you for giving me this opportunity to share what I already have. Thank you, Tammy, for creating this space.
I love talking about frequency. So